Picking up the real comic stacks. This news page is dope spills, but have you stepping back? Alternative.
I am Frankie J, and I'm back with Introduce Yourself, D.
Fandeth.
And we got my man down here, Black Jesus. What's your other name? Midnight Assassin.
Midnight Assassin.
And, several other names that he's used back in the day. He reinvent himself more than Mr. Big. And all right, so as we discussed last week, that this week's topic would be we will come back with the three coolest unknown characters, and each one of us, we got picks. All right, so we'll go around the room. You know, we gonna keep it short on this one because last time we was kind of like really long-winded, and discuss the characters. And then for the people that's watching the video, or the ones that come back and watch the video a little bit later on, don't be afraid to put your comments down in the bottom on what are your top three coolest unknown characters. And before we move on, right, I got to give a shout out to Debo. He just passed away. What was his name, D?
Debo passed away? Like the real Debo? Like Zeus? Tiny Lister?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. He passed away.
Tiny Lister passed away at 62. So, let's give a moment of silence to him.
I can start.
All right, so D gonna start. Right, camera, action.
Nifty. So anyway, here's my three. In no particular order, because I don't really have an order for these. These are just three characters that I think is cool. So actually, Screen Rant stole my thunder on one of them. The day we had that conversation, Screen Rant put out an article on the first character that I have, which is Nigel Higgins, which is the Black Punisher. Known as Outlaw. So,
Outlaw.
Yeah, that's my first one. Are we going in the background? Are we going into detail? We're just throwing out names for now.
If you want to, a little bit of detail.
Yeah. So, the reason I picked him as a cool character is because at one point he was the most powerful character in comics or in Marvel for just a split second. So this comes from after the Doom Secret Wars. Marvel did a contest of champions,
right?
And the way that worked out was after they defeated Doom and all of that and started recreating the multiverse and all that cool stuff. God Doom's battle world, the remnants of them still existed. It was destroyed, but there were like pieces of it floating around, and so it's like a little pocket dimension. Elders of the Universe came there and started taking these little pieces of that universe, put it together, and found out. So we find out in two little pieces. Adam Brasher, Blue Marvel, had studied that area and found out that there is this substance that he called isotope 8 or ISO 8. And basically what it is like the primordial force of the universe. So basically like the stem cells of the universe. It has the potential to become anything. Any energy, any matter, anything. And therefore it can be used to essentially grant wishes or make you godlike. So the Elders of the Universe go to this area, and you know who the Elders of the Universe are. The Runner, the Collector, the
Champion,
Grandmaster, Champion. All right, so all of them get together and they start grabbing all this ISO 8, and each of them have a little piece. And then the Grandmaster and the Collector get together and they're like, well, we want all the power. So what we'll do is we'll have a contest of champions, and we'll bring characters from all throughout the multiverse, all throughout time. So it's just like the original contest of champions, but this one happened in 2015. So they grab their characters and they have basically a contest to see who gets all of the ISO 8. So Outlaw, or the Black Punisher, he comes in and he is going to be one of the Grand Masters, no, one of the Collector's champions. So that's how he enters the story. Long story short, the Contest of Champions happens. The isosphere, the ISO 8 was all put together into what they call the isosphere. The isosphere, he gets his hands on it. Maestro double crosses the Grandmaster, or the Collector, gets his hands on the isosphere. He becomes godlike for a while, and then they steal it from him. And then Outlaw has, or Nigel Higgins, he has that godlike power for a few seconds, long enough to make a wish, which is he was repentant on the fact that he once was the Punisher and killed a bunch of criminals or whatever. So he brought all the criminals that he killed back to life, and then he destroyed the isosphere. He also brought everyone who had died in the contest back to life. So that was like Sentry, Stick, some other characters. And then he formed a team. And then the thing is, we haven't seen this team like since the Contest of Champions, but he formed a team, put together a team, a superhero team, like the European Avengers, and they had like Avengers and stuff. But yeah, for a split second, he was the most powerful character in the Marvel Universe.
Next one.
I'm spitting out all three right now, or are we going around?
Okay, I'll go. My number 3. Let me pull this up, because my memory kind of bad. Because I got to keep it pimping and I got to keep it black. Even though I'm the lightest one on here, y'all try to put me in the field. Anyways, I had to go with X-Men, and all 3 of my picks came from the X-Men universe, and they mutants. So my first one was actually Maggot, and one of his quotes was, I know, no need to say it, I'm the coolest, I'm the Mac to die for, I could go on and on and on, I'm the newest X-Men, how does that sound, hey, and I picked him because I don't feel like they gave Maggot the just due that he should have, because of his powers. And his powers is he got a digestive, he got a slug-based digestive system where 2 slugs come out of his stomach or whatever that area is, and they devour everything in sight, and then they come back to him. And once he get the nutrients from the slug, he gains super strength and enhanced durability, and it turns his skin blue for whatever period of time. And what about you, Black Jesus, Midnight Assassin?
I decided to go like a different route. So I was torn between 2, because I started with anime, then I kind of like moved in more towards animation and stuff. So my first pick, well, actually, my number 3 coolest characters from Bleach, Kenpachi, and like reason being, see, are you familiar with it? The reason being is just like everybody else had like an ability or something, and to fight like a stronger bad guy or something like that, they needed to like transform or use their Bankai out of their sword. And I just remember like when Kenpachi used to come on the scene, like he never used his Bankai. He never even really used his sword, like his Zanpakuto. He never really activated or nothing. The dude was just like crazy strong. He would just go wild for a fight. Like the more you cut this dude up, the more berserk he would go, and he would just like love the fight and stuff. And so that, like, to me, that was like one of the coolest characters. And I just remember that one time he went to Heko Mundo and fought the Arrancar out there, and like, Ichigo was losing everything. Like, he's the main character, he's losing, all hopes lost, and then here comes Zaraki, and he just comes out of nowhere, and boom, he's fighting. He easily takes one down. Then he's fighting another Arrancar. He's like, the dude's like way stronger than everybody. Zaraki, he's just like taking him on. And then something happens. It looks like he's like, about to lose or whatever. And then he takes his Zanpakuto, his sword. And he's like, all right, so, basically I've been fighting you with one hand. He's like, I've been taught to go with 2 hands. And then he like does it with 2 hands. And the dude's like power level just goes like crazy. And this is like after he took his eye patch off and everything. So I know in the manga, like as it goes further on, like he actually like awakens his Impacto after he kills I forgot what her name is. I wrote that down.
Probably used to date her.
I don't know. She was like the medical captain, Unohana, and like she was actually the original Kenpachi. And in order to like awaken his Impacto, he had to kill her to become the actual Kenpachi. And then he awakened his Impacto, and that's all in the manga and stuff. But I hope one day they like continue the anime like with the manga and stuff to catch up, so we can see how all that like turns out.
Oh, good. All great picks for round 3. All right, commencing to round 2. Lights, camera, action.
Action!
All right. So my second pick is Guillotine. She is a character that was actually created for the Contest of Champions. So she's another dope character. Her background is, so to flesh out her background fully, you got to go back in time a little bit. So her ancestor finds this sword in the catacombs of France, and when the sword was like talking to him, it like led him to the sword. So he finds it and he's talking to him. He's like, "Fuck, I'm going crazy." But the sword is like, "Nah, man, just give me a little bit of your blood." And he does, and that bonds the sword to his entire bloodline, and it actually gives him powers. So the sword is sentient, and it has a mental connection with the wielder. But it also enhances their fighting abilities. So they become a master swordsman from just having the sword, and then also the sword itself is really powerful. So this is what makes her cool. One, her abilities are pretty dope. Like the sword makes her like this master sword fighter, but also the sword itself is very powerful. So as it takes in blood, it has like this huge bloodlust. But as it takes in blood, it gets more powerful. And so in the Contest of Champions, if you know about Maestro, you know that he collects artifacts from the characters he kills or whatever. So he fought zombie Captain America and took his shield. So he's got zombie Captain America's shield, and when Guillotine was fighting Maestro, he blocks with zombie Captain America's shield, and the sword actually cuts the shield. His shield's been, his shield has withstood everything.
Oh, you want to go next there, Midnight Assassin, Black Jesus?
Yeah, I'll go next. So my next pick is number 2. So yeah, like I said, I'm taking it somewhere different. So this is from Star Trek Lower Decks, and it's actually the main character. And Lower Decks centers around basically USS Cerritos, and it's basically a spinoff of like all the Star Treks together and stuff. But it's about everybody in the bottom of the ship that nobody like really pays attention to. It's like so that's basically the situation, and like the character I'm focusing on is Beckett Mariner, and basically she is an ensign, Starfleet officer, and unbeknownst to a lot of people on the ship, her mom's a captain, and her dad's actually a fleet admiral, but not too many people know that. But one thing that sticks out to me with her is it's like basically how she's a pretty squared away individual, but at the same time she doesn't really she really like I guess she really like takes on a lot of antics and stuff like that, and she just kind of like goose around a bunch, and she doesn't really like she's not one to look to like really climb rank, but she just like enjoys her time like in the lower decks where she's at, and then that's where you kind of get to see like the different stories and the relationships that build up around her, and it's just really interesting just like how they focus on that. They focus on the different missions and stuff, and just like the amount of callbacks that come to that character and to that story and stuff. So that that's my second pick right there of like coolest characters.
She is actually a really cool character. I'm familiar with Lower Decks. I love that show. And yeah, I agree. She's a really dope character. She's like that soldier who gets the work done.
Yeah.
But not necessarily by the book.
Right.
So, yeah.
She thinks outside the box. Like she thinks outside the box. If something doesn't make sense, it looks dumb, it's the quote unquote the way we've always done it. Like she'll figure out a different way, especially if time changes. She'll look at the situation and, with the information given, she'll just figure out a better way that benefits, all parties involved. So yeah.
So it's my turn, right? And I picked Eddie from the Five Heartbeats. I wish raindrops were fire. No,
Yeah.
I'm messing around with it. I'm gonna keep it black. I'm gonna keep it pimping. I'm gonna go with my man Darwin. All right, with the adaptive evolutionary powers that he has, and how I met him in the comics along with that Maggot and Miss M and that run that they had in the X-Men. But what I didn't like what they did with him in X-Men in the First Class.
They killed him off. Yeah.
That was terrible.
Terrible.
That was his
I
power.
didn't like that.
Not Eddie's.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. He went up against the Hulk. His powers took him somewhere else. I mean, he went up against the Shi'ar Empire in a couple comic books, and that's the man. And I gotta say the same thing like I said with Maggot. We can take this guy and build him up and do so much with his powers. All right. Moving on to round one of the 3 coolest unknown characters. Lights, action, take 13.
All right. So my number one this is one of my favorite characters, period. And when I say I want to see more of this character, y'all don't understand how bad I want to see more of this character. Her name is Anween Bakian. Have y'all heard of her? And she comes from the Infinity storyline, which it also took place during the God Doom Secret Wars. But let me tell you about her backstory. Here we go. So, why is she the coolest for me? I mean,
look at
her.
Yeah.
Her first day becoming a Nova, she gets control of her powers. She learns how to use her powers and abilities really well. She gets the Reality Stone and then fights with the Reality Stone. She fights and defeats Thanos, who has the other 5 Infinity Stones.
What?
And she also had the Infinity Gauntlet. So,
yeah, they need to definitely add her in some storylines in the future. I would like to see her in the actual MCU.
Hell yeah!
Because they haven't truly defined a Nova. So that would be one of the ways to bring her in. All right, moving on. BJ, your number one. BJ, put it in, BJ. Tell us who it is, BJ.
Right. So my number one is from the show Steven Universe.
Oh!
That's right. That's right. It's gonna be Garnet. Garnet, Amethyst. I mean, of course, Pearl, but yeah, Amethyst. I didn't know they were stones.
Right.
But yeah,
you don't be thinking.
So with Garnet, this one don't even show her body. Like, yeah, there we go. Boom. So
you looking at her waist.
Her waist is snatched.
So I'll start off with this picture right here, because this one shows you actually see Ruby and Sapphire. Those are the 2 gems that basically fall in love, fuse together, and form Garnet. You guys see me?
Yeah, we can see you loud and clear.
Very good. So yeah, the thing that stands out for me with Garnet is just like her look and everything, bro. Like her look, like with the afro and everything, and just like I mean, it's I mean, like that the third eye, like it just makes me think of like when everybody talks about the third eye, like the pineal gland and everything, like that stands out right there, and her voice, like her voice is done by Estelle. And that's the artist that her most memorable song to me is American Boy, and like she did with like Kanye like a few years ago, whatnot. But yeah, like everything about her is just cool. Just like how she talks, how she moves, how she trains, her strength, her knowledge, her future vision. Just and the way she takes care of the team, and also has a love for Steven. Amidst like all the changes he goes through, and just like when he becomes bad or when he's confused, like she always has his back. Yeah. So
all right, moving on. I chose for my number one pick again X-Men Generation X, Miss M, Monet Stroy. That's how we say her name. Yeah. And with her, because of her, I mean, I first met her in Generation X when she was fighting alongside, what's his name, Sync, and I just like the chemistry they wrote in there with her. But basically, her powers are kind of like Superman's powers, and they showed a comic. They actually got a comic where she went toe to toe with She-Hulk, and then in the comic book world, War Hulk, she was talking trash to War Hulk. And she was like, "Hey, I'm indestructible," like that. And I guess Hulk at that time, he's like, "I ain't gonna deal with indestructible." So he kicked her and said, "Go be indestructible in New Jersey." So he kicked her from the Xavier Mansion to New Jersey, and she survived. And also, she has super strength. She's a telepath. She has super what's that called? Enhanced durability, and a couple other powers. And as I said before, with Darwin and Maggot, I don't think they explore her world enough. And plus, she comes from a family of superheroes and supervillains. Well, they did explore her evil brother.
Wait, is that Keith Sweat on the radio? The same Keith Sweat?
Yeah.
that's him.
Yeah.
Why he's so bassy on the show? But his music, he'd be like, nobody.
I want nobody.
The real comic stacks. This news pages don't spills, but have you stepping back. Alternative facts.